That EOS R5, probably littered all over your YouTube home screen right now, just like mine is. I wasn't going to make this video because there is so many already out there, and I don't like to get drawn into spec debate battles, especially about cameras that haven't even come out yet. But I'm in a bunch of Sony groups on Facebook. That's the only thing Facebook's good for, really. And I saw a bunch of people in the Sony groups just saying how they're going to be leaving Sony to go straight for the EOS R5. And I don't quite understand all their reasoning behind it, so I want to do a little bit of a different what I think about the EOS R5 in terms of being the voice of reason before you switch. Now, I won't say I'm not tempted by the R5 because I have the R, which I'm actually shooting on right now, and for ease of use, quick pickup if I want to shoot a video, this is a really good camera to do that. I don't have to attach a monitor. I've got the screen on the side there, and that's one of the reasons I really like this camera. And an R5 with all its extra bells and whistles would obviously be quite nice. But I do think it's important to look at the other side of things before you start dropping a bunch of money, probably incurring a ton of debt, because let's be honest, it's going to cost you a lot of money, when you might not necessarily need to, and you just kind of think you want the best and the newest, and you don't need it. So that's what we're gonna do, and I know there's gonna be a hot topic, there's probably gonna be a lot of discussion, so if you wanna start a discussion, let's throw it down in the comments, but keep it civil. Let me start by saying the specs of the R5 are truly incredible. If it can do everything they say it can do, then it will be groundbreaking, it will destroy, in terms of specs, every other camera out there that's mirrorless. Let's just touch on a couple of the huge ones. 8K RAW internal, 120 frames per second, 4K, 422 in log. So you've got the super crispy footage, you can go crazy slow-mo, and it's a colorist's dream. 2 card slots, one of which is regular SD, and then the other one is a compact fast card, I think it's called. I'm not familiar with that card, but I know they cost a lot of money. And in terms of if you compare it to the A7III, the R5 is a Bugatti, and the A7III is like a kind of souped up Honda Civic. Now, if you're in this world of cameras and photo and video, I'm sure you have gas, just like me. Not the gas you're thinking about, but gear acquisition syndrome. We all want the latest, the greatest, the newest, the best, just because we have gas. So I get it, but specs aren't necessarily everything. Allow me to kind of explain my reasoning and what I've been thinking about. If you are a content creator for YouTube, then think about this. I personally believe we're moving out of a phase of crazy cinematic B-rolls and over-the-top edits and zoom transitions and all that kind of thing. We're going more towards slower-paced, story-driven, informative content, at least in my opinion. And you might be wondering, well, what is that? How does that look? Give you some examples of some people right now that are killing it. Matt Diavella, Kraig Adams, Jake Frew, Tyler Stalman. Who else have I got down on? Samuel Elkins, Thomas Heaton. If you haven't watched any of their stuff, I urge you to go and watch it right now. They make some incredible videos, and they're very, very story-driven, simple format videos that just work really well, and they're doing amazing. Look at their channels. The growth on these channels is incredible. I can tell you that you do not need 120 frames per second to shoot those. Just simple 24 frames per second will do you just fine, unless you're Gary, everyday dad. Seriously, 30 frames per second, everything? No offense, I love what you do. You've seen me start to put out shorter form films that are just very simple with voiceover over the top, and it's just story driven. And I really enjoy making those. The over the top, fast paced edits, zoom transitions, they've just been done by everybody before. And the super slow-mo is just, it doesn't have any context anymore. Just making B-roll for the sake of making B-roll, like where's your A-roll? If you don't know what I mean, B-roll is meant to support your A-roll. Your A-roll is like me talking, and then I'd throw B-roll over the top. So that's what B-roll is for, and it's been overdone, and I think we're moving away from that, in all honesty. Now, if you have a specific creative use that you need 8K4 or 4K4, then by all means, if you make insane product videos, you need to crop in after the fact in post, great, go and buy it. But I think for the average person, it's not going to be something you need. Another thing to think about is the memory cards that you're going to have to invest in, because you're going to need insanely fast memory cards, which cost a lot of money. You're going to need a lot of them, especially if you're shooting in RAW. And your poor computer, can it actually handle what you're going to be throwing at it? Think of probably spending $3,000 to $5,000 on a computer that's going to be able to handle 8K video. Just because you have the fastest car doesn't make you the best and fastest driver. Something to think about. So is it something you need, or is it something that you want? Little audit you can do for yourself, self-reflection if you will. Go and look at the best piece of content, the best or your most favorite video you've ever made. What made that the best? It's probably not the gear, it's probably not the lens, it's probably not the fact that you shot it in 4K. It's probably the story or the visuals of where you were because you're in a really nice country, a really nice place. It's probably the editing. Those are the things that are important. Now do the same with your worst, and if you're like me, your worst is probably going to be something that's old. And the reason that you don't like it, the reason it doesn't look good, is because you didn't know a lot of what you know now. You've learned a lot, and it's allowed you to get more out of your camera. Your lighting might be better, your sound might be better. Those might be things that you hated before in those older videos, but now you've learned a lot more about, and they're important. Something else that Canon always does, there's going to be some form of a cripple hammer. We do not know what it is yet, but there's going to be one in there. It has to be. I don't even know because the specs right now kind of make it hard to see what it would be, but there just has to be. It can't be as good as they say. If it is, as I said, it will be groundbreaking, but I don't buy it until I see a live one. If you are thinking about switching from Sony to Canon, there are some things you have to consider. Some features you probably use on a regular basis that you just don't think about. Clear image zoom, extra reach when you need it. Some people won't say it's great. I personally think it's a really good, useful feature when you really need to use it. Crop mode, if you're in a full frame camera like the A7III, probably can't see that, A7III, and you want to go from full frame mode to crop mode, it gives you extra reach. It's not the same as using 2 prime lenses, but it gives you the equivalent look. So in certain situations, it's really useful. Not having that on the R5 might mean now that you have to carry 2 prime lenses instead. That's more money you have to spend. There's a list of other Sony features. Bright monitoring, something I use on a regular basis. If you shoot astro, you just need to bump up your levels quickly so you can see because it's too dark. Better eye autofocus. It's definitely better on the A7III. I have the A7III, I have the EOS R. The A7III is better for IAF. They may improve that on the R5. We don't know. We can't talk about it yet. All we can say is what we know right now, and that is the A7III is better for IAF and autofocus. Shh. Now, if you're in the E-mount system right now and you're thinking of swapping to the Canon RF system, or even if you're just buying new lenses and you're sticking with Sony and Canon, be prepared to remortgage your house. Seriously, it is not cheap. The RF system is amazing. It's new. And because of that, it's really expensive. There aren't really many third-party options out there, if any. I think Samyang makes a couple, but they're not cheap. Let's do a little math. Now, I wrote down a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to reference this just to show you here. So I do buy and sell a lot of gear, so I'm very familiar with what the cost of A7III gear goes for, and I did reference a lot of B&H stuff on here as well. Everything is in US dollars and doesn't include tax. So let's say you have an A7III, a 7200 f2.8, 55mm f1.8 Zeiss, and a 1635 f2.8 GM. Those are all E-mounts. And you're moving to the R5. We don't know what the cost of the R5 is going to be yet. We can only assume, and I've put down here that I kind of think it's going to be around 4,000-ish US dollars. It could be more, it could be less. If it's less, it's going to sell like hotcakes, but I think it will probably be more. But let's say 4K just to be safe. So I could sell my A7III right now for about 1,600 US on the high end, and if I want to buy the R5 and say it's around 4K, we're going to have to drop an additional $2,400 to get that. So that's the first thing. That's not too bad. The A7III is a couple of years old and you'll be getting a brand new camera. Depending on the way you look at it, that's all right. So you're going to sell your 7200 E-mount and buy the RF equivalent. If you sell the Sony one, you'll get about 2,000-ish US dollars right now. A new RF 7200 f2.8, and I say new because the used market all but doesn't exist because people aren't selling the lenses because they're so new. RF 2.8 7200 will be $2,700. So that's $700 to our tally. So we're looking at 3,100 US so far. 1635 f2.8, you're going to sell that because you're going to buy the RF version. You can sell that for roughly around 1,800-ish right now. 1535 f2.8 RF will cost you 2,300, so we're adding 500, so now we're at 3,600 US. 55mm f1.8 Sony is your next lens. You're getting rid of that because you move into RF, even though that's an amazing lens. You're silly if you sell that. I guess you have to if you're going to the RF system. You can get about 700 for that used, and you're going to be getting the equivalent, which would be the RF 50mm f1.2. That's the closest you can get right now. That will cost you 2,300 US. So we're adding 1,600, or 1,600 more in the hole, which brings us out to a healthy 5,200 US dollars plus tax of wherever you live. It's quite a lot of money. Just an example if you were to sell all your Sony lenses and gear and get the Canon equivalent. Just doing the math for you, you need to know these kinds of things. It's a great example. Now, I know some people will have issues with my comparisons. They're selling that lens to buy that lens. There's other ones you can get. Whatever. If you don't believe me, go do your own. You're going to start to see it's still very, very expensive. Let's talk about that 8K quickly. Touch on it again. Does anybody actually need that? I don't think they do. 8K is going to be such a drain on your wallet, your hard drive, your computer. The only foreseeable use I can see for it would be if you like to shoot everything 4K and you want to shoot 8K and do some keyframe movements or crop in post after the fact. That's the only thing. Honestly, I don't think anyone else needs to. I know people like MKBHD shooting 8K on their Red cameras for their product videos. If he has the time, the space, the money, by all means. But the average person isn't going to have the time, space, and money to be able to deal with 8K. A lot of people can't even handle 4K on their computers right now. We're talking a huge amount of increase in resolution. Space, it's not necessary. And to be honest, you're probably not even going to be able to deal with memory cards if you're shooting in RAW. You're going to need SSDs. Terabytes of SSDs. We're talking hundreds, possibly even thousands of dollars in hard drives to be able to just record that 8K RAW video. Now, don't get me wrong, the R5 does look absolutely incredible. If it can do everything they can say without a cripple hammer, then it will be a beast. So just my opinions. I think it's important to look at both sides of the story. I think it's very easy to get wowed by specs and not actually think about what you'd actually be using that for, and just assess what you've got right now and what it is that you use it for. Do you need all those features that the R5 has? Probably not. I felt like this video is just going to be a jumble of thoughts when I get to the edit and I upload it, and that's what people are going to say, but it's what I've been thinking, and it's good to share. There's definitely more to talk about, but I think we'll leave it at that for now. Those are the things that I've been thinking about. Will I be getting it? I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. Very happy with the EOS R, very happy with the A7 III. I would love the A7 IV if it ever comes out, the A7S III ever comes out. Let's be honest, we're probably not going to see those till this whole mess is over and done with. So yeah, I don't know. I might get it. I'm partially invested in the RF system already, so it's not a huge deal to me. I can sell the R and buy the R5. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Let me know down below. I think that'll do. See you later.